Hey everyone, Destiny Moon back here again. First of all, I want to thank you for watching right now. And if you have any response still or things that you want to discuss in our last video, which was a pretty hot topic here in Tucson in our community, I would love to hear from you still. And I am open to new views all the time. And as I've gotten older, I've really had some things come to light. So our next video is about one of those things that I have had some experience with. We're going to talk about the death penalty. And the death penalty is still something that's on the table. And I have to tell you that most people know me as a fairly compassionate person, but I was a huge proponent for the death penalty and an eye for an eye. And what a lot of you don't know is that in my previous marriage, my mother-in-law was murdered. And I am thankful and grateful every day that my ex-husband and I are still friends and still supportive with each other, because it was a very, very rough road for all of us. But my mother-in-law was murdered in a very heinous, brutal crime. And there was another young woman who was murdered 5 days before her, also a very heinous crime. Our case was a death penalty case, and we wanted the death penalty. We wanted him to die. We did not think he should live. We fought for the death penalty. We got the death penalty. He was sentenced to death for these crimes. He was missing for several months before he turned himself in. And during that time, it was horrible for my family. And I carried a gun. I didn't know where he was. I didn't know if he was going to come after my family. We were on America's Most Wanted. So he was sentenced to death. So I have a little bit of a different take on the death penalty now. And I'll tell you why. We wanted him to die. He laughed at us in court. It was a really horrific experience to testify. My husband and I found her body after she had been dead for 4 days. And I will never forget that. Ever. And I will constantly have to relive that in times like this. And I never thought I would revisit this subject. And I'm not really sure why it came to fruition here. And I don't know if you remember my first video was like, I have no fucking idea where this is going to take me. Well, this is where I am. But there was a lot of things that we did not realize that came with the death sentence. It means that they get an automatic appeal. It means that you have to go back to court again. It means that if they get sentenced to death again, you can still get another appeal. And it means that you can spend 16 years going to hearings and testifying in 3 trials. It benefited nobody. Then there came a case, Arizona versus Ring, where any person that was convicted and sentenced to the death penalty by a judge, all of those were overturned, and they all got new trials. And they needed to be sentenced by a jury. There was a lot of mitigating factors here, and there was a lot of things that came into play with a lot of different cases. I won't even get into that. We made the decision to pursue a natural life sentence with no chance of parole. And that is what he got, and that's where he is right now. And I'm really happy for that sentence. And I never thought I would say that. I was happy to be able to let it go, that I really knew that I wasn't likely to ever have to go to court again, that my family wasn't going to have to go to court again, that my ex-husband would not have to ever relive that again. That's what the death penalty sentence is. It's very rare that it's an actual death sentence. But it does happen. And the other truth and the other fact behind this is that there are people that have been sentenced to death that are innocent. He is not one of them. He will rot in prison, and someday he'll die there. But there have been people that have been exonerated for their crimes when DNA came into place and proved that they did not commit those crimes. And so thankfully, those people did not get put to death. And some of them spent decades in prison. Some of them spent a few years in prison, but they've been exonerated, thankfully. But I can tell you, I can guarantee you that there are people that were put to death that were innocent. And I don't ever want that to happen. So I have had a challenge trying to find somebody who is for the death penalty these days that wants to have this discussion with me. I have very specific reasons for not wanting to have it that came into me researching a lot more and realizing the innocent people that had suffered behind this type of sentencing. And so the next video will be a little bit more about what we've researched, in fact, and pros and cons, and you'll have a little bit more time to consider your thoughts on it. And I really am okay if you're okay with the death penalty. I'm okay if you're not. I'm okay with whatever you feel is right, because I've been now in both of those positions, and I understand. So I would love to hear from somebody who would like to have a discussion with me about this, and there's going to be more than one. And I'm also going to talk to you in the next video about a movie that's coming out from the UK about the death penalty in the USA. And that's a pretty important film as well. So I'll send some links to that when that time comes. And I will look forward to speaking with you more and hopefully hearing from you between now and then. And thank you for allowing me to be vulnerable here on this page, because I think it's really important to hear from people who have really been through this. So I hope you all have an awesome rest of your week.